best BBW you guys ever seen.
That's actually pretty good.
Oh, where is it? Get the hood open on that one. Yeah, I couldn't find the latch. Hey everybody, it's Bob from TNT. It's TNT Tuesday, the 7th of April, 2020. So, I don't know if you saw the theme for today. Kicking, what the hell did I say? Kicking tires, lighting fires. So, I don't know if you saw on my personal page this morning when I made the announcement, we're going to talk about redheads today. A little bit. So, redheads are one of my favorite. I'm kind of married to one. So, let's switch this around and show you my current redhead. So this came in, guy just bought it on auction. It came out of, we'll just say the Carolinas. I don't remember north or south, but we'll just say the Carolinas. Pretty clean, all original car. So it's in here to give it a full inspection, see if he spent his money wisely, and so far we say yes, for what the intended purpose is. I mean, she's got a few little dings and a few little whatevers, but it's a really clean 68 Impala Super Sport. And for those discerning eyes that are watching, you should recognize them big ass valve covers. For those of you that don't have a little of this, I'll show you what them big ass valve covers mean. So this is an original big block car, numbers matching, does have a 396. Someone has updated intake and carburetor to Edelbrock stuff, but other than that, she's pretty original. Mallory Unilite distributor, that needs to go in my opinion, but we'll cross that bridge when we get that far. It has a few minor mechanicals that need to be fixed, and that's why it's here on top of the inspections. Got a rear pinion seal that's leaking like a sieve. So we're going to do a rear diff service and check that out for him this afternoon. Has a wheel cylinder here on this front left corner that is leaking pretty well. I mean, the guy got this off transport last Tuesday night, and he's been driving the tires off of it. Obviously bought a new toy, wants to play with it. So exercising the brakes, we don't really know how long it was sitting. The left front wheel cylinder developed a leak, so now he's talking about converting it over to four-wheel disc brakes. So we're going to do a four-wheel disc brake conversion on it for him. Bring this old 60s, late 60s vintage iron at least into the 80s and 90s, put a little better brake on it, because he bought it as a driver. So one of my hashtags in the description was stimulus package. That's one. Stimulus package number 2. Some more old iron. This one's a little newer, 1980 vintage K10, all original truck. Customer just put new rubber on it because it needed new rubber. And the stimulus package number 2 happens here. So it's got a pretty tight small block in it, little 350. So we're going to do a carburetor intake, headers, exhaust, full ignition system, kind of wake the old girl up a little bit. So we are here in the shop and running. It's pretty quiet at the moment, but everybody's at lunch. The one down on the end, this is kind of an interesting operation. We're unlifting. Yes, unlifting. It had a 4-inch Fab Tech or something lift on it. So customer wants to put it back down to a stock truck again. I happen to have a front frame section that we salvaged several years ago. Long story short, we were going to make a long travel IFS front end for a project we were working on, and then thought better of it. So I had all the stock pieces, so we can take all the lift off of this truck, put stock knuckles and tie rod ends and all of that stuff, so it's easily serviced. And then reading through, we'll show you one more stimulus package we're working on. Actually 2 more, but we'll start with the old iron first, since we kind of got an old iron theme going today. This fun little project came in the other day. Let me flip this around so you can see it as I walk up to it. So 1942 CJ2A. Guy's been working on it. It was his grandfather's, which grandfather is still here. So it's a 3-generation project. I'm sure grandfather just kind of sits his butt in a chair while his son and his grandson are doing all the work. It's got a small block under the hood. Let's see if I can get the hood open. It don't want to open, so we're not going to force it. But it does have you can see, little Chevy small block under the hood. Has a automatic. Not quite sure what for a transfer case. We're doing minor cage work, so that'll play into part 2 of this video. One of the comments on my original, or the teaser post on my page this morning, asked people what they wanted me to talk about, and one of the comments was cage. So this kind of plays right into that. We're not really doing anything elaborate, exotic, anything crazy. They just wanted a basic windshield hoop and 2 spreaders, more or less to hold the bikini top up from flopping in the wind, and give pops a little extra something. And like I said, it's not a structural cage. It's not a what we would normally do for a cage, but customers always sometimes right. So we're doing what they requested and building a simple little windshield hoop and windshield bar and 2 spreaders. So the guys have been back here playing with the old school bender. Got my old not homemade, but Bob made, there you go, modified JD squared Model 3. That old girl's pushed several miles of tubing through it. I converted it to hydraulics 20 years ago because I got tired of pulling a handle. So I won't say that we've bent heavier tube than we should have over the years, but yeah, maybe. So that's kind of what we got going on here in the shop. Like I said, kind of old school this week. Got the 68 Super Sport Impala, we got the 80 K10, that old 42, and then that leads us to one of the topics that people wanted me to discuss was cage design and how our philosophy is on cages. So I'm standing right here in front of Rex, so I'll flip this around. How's the audio? It's pretty quiet in here, so hopefully I'm projecting enough that everybody can hear me. So I'll flip it. There we go. So cage design. This actually is a fairly elaborate cage. Show you some joints there. Everything is double passed TIG welded. See if I can get back far enough where you can see some. I mean, we kind of got stuff piled on it. Sorry I didn't clean it up prior to the video. I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So this cage has a C-pillar X-brace that is tied directly to the frame, down through the body, delivers right on top of the frame. The D-pillar, what side do we have? I think this side. Nope, must be this side. Then again, the guys may have those pieces out. Oh no, here it is. So we tied the D-pillar down, plowed through the body. That will all get sheet metal covers down to tabs that are not quite finished. That'll all get fully gusseted and cleaned up. So we got D-pillar to frame, C-pillar to frame with X-braced. We have door bars from B or C to B. Hopefully I'm not moving too fast so you guys are not getting drunk watching my shaky video. The B pillar on this one is kind of unique. I mean, we pioneered cutting the B pillar off and getting rid of the sheet metal, oh God, 2009? Maybe it was 2010, I don't know. We did that a long time ago before it was in vogue to do so. But we actually dug all of the factory B-pillar out of this JK. For those of you that don't know, your B-pillar, quote unquote, in a factory, I won't say cage, but tube apparatus, there we go, that's a good word, stops about there. That's all the farther the tube goes. It's just spot welded in a few places and buried in sheet metal and called a B-pillar. Not quite. So we dug all of that out, as you can see evidenced by the paint being hosed up, getting in there and digging out spot welds and cutting out useless sheet metal things with a torch. This B-pillar now goes here. It follows all the way down and about there, somewhere in that neighborhood. It kicks back in through the floor and down to the frame. So we were able, let me see if I can get a side shot. There we go. By doing that, we were able to keep the B-pillar clear out to the side of the Jeep. Flip this around. So what that does for us, A, gives you a little more noggin room. B, B-pillar. B gets it out of, normally an add-on B-pillar is like right behind the seat, not really doing a whole lot for you and not giving you room to move your seat around. For those of you that recognize this Jeep, it's Pat's. Pat's my size, maybe 2 inches taller. I don't know, 6'2", somewhere in that neighborhood. So he's a fairly large person. Needs a little more room to be comfortable. And that's really part of what goes into cage design, is working with the customer, with their Jeep, with their intended usage of the Jeep. You know, you kind of meld all of that stuff together and then build a cage. It's not quite that simple, but you know, that's the nuts and bolts of it. There's plenty of cage in a box kits out there. There's some pre-welded ones out there. There's a bunch of stuff out there, and it's decent. You know, I'm not saying that it's not. But for a discerning customer that has a specific need and want, you cannot, I'm trying to keep the fluorescent lights out of the way. There we go. If I stand there, I'll be okay. For a discerning customer that needs a little more than a cage in a box, you got to have somebody build it for you. Whether that's us, there's several other great custom shops around the country that can do those sorts of things. You know, the cage in a box is not necessarily custom. It's a cage in a box. So you kind of get what you get. So if that doesn't suit your needs, you need to search out us or one of those other shops. You really want to go meet with that owner, that fabricator, however that's described, and work out what you need and want, and then, you know, start bending tube. So back, let me flip this back around. A-pillar now, there is no windshield frame. Yeah, it's too hard to fold the hood down one-handed, so I'll just leave it alone. But you can see what's left of the original windshield frame bracket, because the JK pivots in the center, not out here like a CJ, YJ, TJ did. So the factory has a stamped metal apparatus that ties the windshield to the cowl and holds all that together. We trimmed that off and made this top cap so that we had a place to set tubing. So we brought that out, not quite to the leading edge, stayed back just a little bit because there is a piece of Lexan in a frame that will go on here, so Pat still has a windshield for when he needs to use a windshield. And we tied, since we're so far outboard, we're right on top of all of this sheet metal and there just isn't a path. So we tied the A-pillar to the floor just inboard of the door opening. There's a big heavy gusset up through here. There's some more gusset work behind it. So it will carry the load across there. Got a V-bar in the center. So cage design, you know, you kind of got a couple of different ways you can do this. We decided to stick with straight spreaders throughout. They're a little stronger. We have made some cages in the past where we went from the B pillar or B hoop, B crossbar, whatever you want to call that, the B, come forward and then come out into this outer corner. That really puts a lot of strength in there, but it is a headroom problem. And with Pat being as tall as he is, we decided to just stay with traditional straight spreaders. All the joints are, you start seeing detail work. Everything's double, in some cases triple notched to get all of them joints to come together in a very strong node. We still have some gusset work to do in this cage, like there at the B pillar. This one has a full harness bar in it that is supported down to the B pillar, but in such a manner that the seat back will tuck. So what's the point of having adjustable seats if you got nowhere to take them? As you get some of this, your back is not as good as it used to was. So I know I find I like to adjust the back of my seat a couple of clicks one way or the other throughout the day. It relieves tension on my lower back. So all of that kind of stuff goes into thinking about a custom cage. This one, actually, I'll flip one more time and then we'll be done flipping. This one actually has a front stub. For those discerning JK aficionados out there, you'll notice that all of the factory support system is gone. We cut all that off, flush at the firewall. Oh, that's a really old video. I think my son was running the Sawzall that day and the part hit the floor. You can search it out on our site. It's an old video. But we took all that off. We stubbed the cage out onto the front frame. So this is really, when it's all said and done, going to be a 10-point cage. There'll be 10 points of connection to the chassis. We decided to leave it as a bushing mounted cage. As you can see, Rex is still a little ways off from being finished, so we still have paint and body work to do and things of that nature. So we needed to be able to remove the tub from the frame. And then, you know, if Pat's past track record is any indication of things to come, at some point we're going to need a new tub. So we wanted to be able to make sure that we can take it apart someday and fix some of those things, or get rid of more sheet metal. You know, time will tell. So I guess that's about all I got for today. We're coming up on 20 minutes. I don't want to ramble too long. Oh, that was bad. You're not supposed to touch your face. Whatever. So I guess I'll close with thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next week. We'll see what we got going in the shop. Maybe Mary's got something interesting going over at manufacturing. Probably not next week in manufacturing, because we're going to be down an employee next week, because our fourth, there we go, you can see them all, fourth grandchild comes tomorrow. So kind of exciting times in the Liebenhagen clan. My folks are currently traveling from their winter refuge in southern Texas. Talked to them this morning. They were down by Del Rio, Texas, headed this way. So they'll get here probably technically after the fact. I'm not quite sure. Lindsay's going in for a C-section, so we know it's tomorrow, but I don't remember what time her appointment is. But we will have our fourth grandchild sometime tomorrow afternoon, evening, however long that takes, I don't know. My folks will be in probably tomorrow night or Thursday to see the grandbaby when they finally get released from the hospital, because none of us can go up there, and you guys all know the rigmarole that is currently going on. So it'll be sometime this weekend before we get to meet the little shaver. And so Jason probably won't be around next week, at least first part of the week. He'll be home helping with the other two kids and helping his wife and the new baby. So manufacturing probably be pretty quiet next week. Actually, what may happen is you may see the old man over there making parts again, because we've got some orders. Thank you to those folks that are still ordering parts, and manufacturing is doing well. So the old man might have to go over and work over there next week. We'll kind of play that by ear. Thank you to everyone that congratulated us. We're excited to have our fourth, Jason's third. So we'll hopefully by the weekend they'll be out of the hospital and everything will be getting on with life again. So speaking of getting on with life, get on with life. Do your job, support your families, your loved ones. Keep your heads down, keep your powder dry, and that's all I got for this week. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good day.